special today with us. Her name is Cindy, and she is a human design life coach. And she's going to discuss about a few more beautiful things around human design, where we can learn the aspects of human design as well as how we can incorporate it in our personal and professional life. I know that all of you are going to enjoy this episode very well. So, without further delay, let's have Cindy here. Hey, Cindy,
Hi guys. Hello. Thanks for having me today.
how are you doing?
I'm doing great this morning. We've got a nice sunny day where I am, so I'm happy about that.
Wow, wow, that's fantastic. And thank you so much for being here. We would really love to chat with you around human design and business part of it. So let's get started with it.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So, tell us more about yourself. Like, where are you from? What do you do? And how are things going on?
Yes, so I am from Canada. So if you have any fellow Canadians here, nice to connect with you guys. I'm a couple hours outside of Toronto. Most people know Toronto as a bigger kind of area. Yes, and so for the past 13 years, I've worked in physiotherapy, which is helping people heal from physical injuries. And then 5 years ago, on my own personal development journey, I found human design. And I always say I fell in love with human design. It was one of those things that just really spoke to my soul. And I had a lot of epiphanies and a lot of aha moments for myself when I found it. And then, of course, I dove down the rabbit hole. And for the past 5 years, I have studied and integrated human design and became a human design life coach. So now what I do is I help women deeply understand their human design and how to use that in business, relationships, personal development, and how to basically create alignment with who they are meant to be energetically so we can strip away all of that conditioning and all of that who am I, what's my purpose, what's my way, all of those questions that come up when we are entrepreneurs. And I help women deeply understand their human design in that way.
Wow, that's
That's me in a
fantastic.
nutshell.
That's great. I really appreciate the whole concept, and I really enjoy doing it. And the very first reason
Mm-hmm.
of me being in coaching is my own human design. That after working in online space for more than 3-4 years, I realized that okay, if I'm not my business is not aligned with my human design, it is not the way I want. I mean, it was as simple as that when I just got to know about it. And that's how I was just looking for someone who can actually talk on my show around human design, and that's how we got in touch, right?
That's right. Yes. Yeah. And it's honestly, once you see all of the areas that don't feel good, right? The areas that feel frustrating, the areas that feel like hustle and force, those are the areas that we want to look at and see where can we shift things, even if they're little shifts, where can we make those shifts so that you're more in alignment with your own energy type? Because our energy type, our human design doesn't change. It's the same from when we are born to the end of our life. So if we're working out of alignment that whole time, we can do it that way. We can do it the hard way. We can do it the forceful way and the way where we feel burnt out. But there is an easier way where we can create more flow, more abundance, and more spaciousness that is in alignment with who you are for sure.
True, true. So for all those people who don't know much about human design, tell us more about what is human design and how it is important. What is the importance of human design to know more about what is my type and all.
Yeah. So human design as a whole has four scientific systems within it. So if you're brand new to human design and you don't even know what we're talking about, human design is made up of astrology, quantum physics, the Chinese I Ching, and the chakra system. Most people might know the chakra system or astrology, but the I Ching and quantum physics can be a little confusing. But the beautiful part about the human design system is all you need is your birth information. There are sites and programs that do all of the calculation for you. You're just plugging in your name, your birth date, your time, the city you were born, and it calculates your chart for you. And then you can reach out to someone like myself to help you sift through what all of that means because human design, just like a lot of other things, is sort of its own language and some of the terminology can be a little confusing. But once you understand that terminology, it really clicks and it makes total sense, and then it's easier to align with those things. So the importance of it is knowing how are you different from other people. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're following 7 coaches online that inspire you, that you like the way they do business, that's great. It's great to have the mentorship and it's great to have that inspiration, but those people could be completely different energy types than you. They could be completely different profiles, their activations in their chart. So, how they're meant to show up, how they're meant to share their message and run their business could be very, very different than how you are meant to show up and what is sustainable for you. So, the importance of it is understanding like what is inspiration? What can I take and sort of make it my own, make it work for me rather than trying to fit into these cookie cutter strategies that don't work for everyone. Right. So, an example would be I am a manifestor energy type, and we only make up 8% of the population. So majority of the coaches in the online space are generators because generators make up 80% of the population. So if I'm trying to run my business like those generators that inspire me, I'm going to feel like something's wrong with me. I'm going to feel like, why am I not able to sustain what she's able to sustain? And then we just go down that shame rabbit hole, and it's never a good thing. So rather than comparing, we can again take what inspires us, but we know what is us and what is not us, and we know how to tweak those things so that it can work for us rather than in a resistance feeling sort of way.
True, true. So when I just discovered my own human design type, I just realized I just got to know that I'm a projector, and I mean,
Projector,
just
yeah.
by knowing it, I could really understand that why things were happening around me and why I was behaving in certain ways, right, in my life, and it was a light bulb moment
Yes.
for me. That I mean, it is really fantastic to understand that, okay, why I mean, I got to know about the why of my life, right, that why I'm doing certain things in certain way, and it is really a beautiful
Yep.
part of it, right?
Absolutely. And being a projector, right? Just that simple strategy of waiting for the invitation, right? So if you're new to human design, every energy type, and there are 4 energy types. So there's generators, which are 80% roughly. Then we have manifestors, about 8%. Projectors are about 10 to 11%, and reflectors are 1%. And each one of those energy types is talking about your aura. So it's talking about the energy that people feel from you and the energy in which you interact with the world, right? We can't see our auras, but we can feel it energetically. So when you understand that you're a projector, it's like, okay, I understand that my aura is penetrating. It can be very invasive, it can be very intense. You're here to guide people. But if you're
Right.
not following that strategy of waiting for the invitation, right? Waiting for people to DM you, waiting for people to sign up for your freebies or for your programs, all of those things are forms of invitation so that you can stand in your power, share your message to the right people. But if you're out there cold messaging people or trying to guide and coach your family and your friends without being asked, that's going to give you a totally different result and feeling than it will when you followed that strategy of waiting for an invitation, right? And same goes for myself as a manifester. If I'm not informing my audience, because for manifestors, we have a very bold and intense aura. So if I'm not informing my audience as to when I'm going to go live, when I'm launching something new, what are my thoughts? What are my feelings? What are my intentions? Then my audience is going to have a hard time getting to know who I am because my aura is not going to let them in the same way as a generator aura would. So, yes, it absolutely is this like validation and permission. When we find out our type, it's like, oh, I just have to tweak certain ways. And then I get that flow and that harmony that I'm looking for. So I love that you are a projector and that you've sort of tweaked those things for yourself. That's awesome.
True, and like when it comes to having those, I'm not sure about the terminology of it. It is like there's something closed and open, right? A few paths are open, like open chart and closed chart, like all those stuff, right? So it actually also
Yeah.
gives you better idea about like what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses. Like in my case, it was the
Hmm.
thought area that it actually talks about, like I should be using my thought in my whole process, like of helping people and all. And that's how I changed the whole
Yeah.
thing, that about like showing up in a certain way. So I really it is really fantastic part of like doing thing and like knowing human design itself, right? So like how about you,
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
being a human, like what was your main purpose of like getting into the domain of human design?
Yeah, so for me, it was on my own personal development journey. I found feminine energetics and I thought, oh, that's really interesting, right? Like how to receive, how to open the heart chakra, how to be rather than doing all of the time, right? And that's just, energetics in a nutshell. That's a whole other topic. And then, the law of attraction. I found Abraham Hicks and really resonated with that message of what we think, what we feel, what we emit is what we attract, and all of that stuff. I had a lot of aha moments and a lot of shifts and all of that. However, when I found human design and I discovered that I was a manifestor energy type and that 8% and how I operate so differently, the aha moments and the breakthroughs and the validation that came with that was unlike any of the other tools. So that's why I feel like it's just a tool that's so personalized. So as a coach, it's beautiful because we can not only use it to run our own business, but we can use it to actually coach our clients in an aligned way for them. So again, me being a manifester, how I run my business is not going to be the same as how I coach my projector client or coach my generator client how to run their business. So it's cool because you get this background blueprint, you get this inside scoop on who you're working with on the first call, right? Like you don't even have to be 7 calls in before you get to know this person. You know their strengths, you know their weaknesses, you know the areas of conditioning, you know where they're going to get hung up and where their power centers are, and you can immediately help them get there. So it almost collapses time as well for you as a coach because you can really see into that. Yeah.
True, true, very true. I'm really enjoying this conversation and I'm going through the whole process that actually, no, that's how I discovered the human design itself. And it is really wonderful part of the whole
Yeah.
concept, right? That it is quite
Yeah.
personalized, that it is not something that, like, I mean, fit, everyone can fit in and it is kind of common for everyone, right? And like the
Yeah.
whole like aspect of human design is totally like very much personalized and it really makes it more powerful, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
like what if I ask you that how is it connected with our way of living, right? How we can use human design in our way of living?
Honestly, endless answers to that question, but I will try to condense it as much as possible. So, the thing with human design is it's a very layered system, right? If you start down the rabbit hole of human design, you will understand there is a foundational level of human design, and then there is an intricate kind of deeper dive into human design. So, when you're on the surface level, it really can help with the basics, like how to run your business, how to improve your relationship, how to stand in your personal power, how to not need validation from others, how to make decisions. But when it comes to like our way of living, it also shows you how to use your energy to prevent burnout. You can use this if you're having any health issues because there's different centers that coincide with different areas and different organs of the body. Human design goes as far as showing you how you digest food, how you should schedule your daily schedule in your business, how you process information. It goes into how you manifest, whether you're specific or non-specific. It gets into something called transference of the brain, where certain people are meant to live in a more innocent way of being, meaning they can show up on a live and they don't really need to have an intention behind it. I don't know if you've ever noticed those people where they're like, hey, I just decided to pop on here. I have no real meaning behind this live. We're just going to chat today. That actually works for some people because some people would have what's called an innocence motivation. Other people would have what's called a desire motivation, meaning if they show up in that way, they're not going to get the same results. Some people need to have a point, a motive, and be a little bit more direct. So that's just one example of how two people can be showing up in the same way, but get very, very different results. So again, it can be health, relationships, personal development, how you run your business, energy in general. There are so many ways, depending on where you feel stuck, that we can look at your human design. That's why it's amazing because all of these different human design coaches out there have different niches and different tools that they're butting human design up against. Again, mine is manifestation, feminine energetics, business, relationships, personal power. But there are coaches who teach simply on digestion based off of your human design, or simply on business and that type of thing. So it's one of those systems that's so vast, you can really take it at the superficial level, or you can dive down that rabbit hole and be learning about your human design to a very, very deep level of knowledge.
True, true. Actually, it is a really vast field itself, which like where we can just need to have a specific thing to target, right? Where it is very much personalized to everyone, and like it gives
Yeah.
significant results to people, right? So, what if we talk about today's special topic, right? That how knowing my human design can help me in my business.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so let's go through each energy type. We'll go through the four energy types. There are five types if you count a manifesting generator. I'll explain the difference there, and then we'll talk about how that looks different in business for each type. So, again, going back to in human design, we have four energy types. One of those energy types has a subtype, which is called a manifesting generator. Okay, so generators and manifesting generators are the same energy type. The only difference is a manifesting generator has what we call the defined throat. So they are our express builders, and they have the ability to maybe create things a little quicker or learn things a little bit faster, but they are still a generator. And again, generators are roughly about 80% of the population, and they have what's called an open and enveloping aura. So the generator is the magnet, and their aura is designed to bring things in towards them. And then they have what's called a gut response. And that's when people say, what does your gut say? Trust your gut, listen to your gut. That is only prevalent and only works for generators and manifesting generators because they actually have a built in gut response in their body. So if I ask them, hey, do you like this thing? Or do you want to do this thing? Or do you want this type of food? Their sacral center, their gut response, it's going to automatically go, uh-huh, yes, or uh-uh, no. It's going to say, uh-huh, I have energy for that thing, or uh-uh, no, I do not. And it works as a yes or no mechanism. So when a generator or a manifesting generator is operating in business and they're a pure generator, meaning they're not emotionally defined, and again, we can't cover everything today, but I'll try to break down what most of that all means. But if they're a pure generator, in the moment, trusting that gut response is their key to success. So if a generator or manifesting generator is over planning their launches and over scheduling their content, then they're actually missing that in the moment response as to when they're feeling lit up to go live, when they're feeling lit up to launch a specific program. So it's fine to have that generalized way of planning as a generator, but you also want to leave some room for that spontaneity, for that sacral to light you up and to guide you as to when the correct timing is to launch certain things, to go live, to post. Because again, you're an in the moment intuition and you really want to honor that. And then you also want to watch that you're not trying to initiate, hustle, and force too much as a generator or Manny Gen. You want to lean back and really watch, what is my body responding to? What am I being lit up by? Where am I being called to show up? And that's going to make business a lot easier for you as a generator or a manifesting generator. Because again, you're in the moment and you're meant to respond to things. Okay. Then we have manifestors like myself. We make up about 8%. Now, the percentages are changing in the population because we're actually getting more projectors born into the world rather than having as many generators. So these are slowly shifting, but roughly we have about 8%. And now manifestors are completely different than the other energy types. Instead of having an open and enveloping aura where it's friendly and inviting, if you think of enveloping like the generators, it's sort of drawing people in. It's very magnetic because it's bringing people towards you. A manifestor has a dense and repelling aura. So that is actually the opposite. It's pushing things away. And manifestors are here to initiate, to take action, and to impact people. Okay, so their aura is designed for them to get inspired, and then their aura sort of pushes obstacles out of the way so that they can go ahead and initiate and start that project that they want to start. So, manifestors in business, it's very important that you understand that you don't have that inviting, welcoming energy. You need to create that. You need to get to know your audience. You need to, go live or be on video or show up consistently so that your audience can really learn to like, know, and trust, right? We know that like, know, and trust factor is a big thing for every energy type, but the manifester doesn't realize is that their audience is going to have a harder time feeling them out because they have a closed aura. It's almost like they see you, but they're like, I'm not quite sure. I don't know what her intentions are. I'm not sure yet if I trust her. So as a manifester, just again, be open, be an open book, be vulnerable, share your thoughts, share your feelings, share what you're going to do before you're going to do it. And that's really going to allow your audience into that sort of intense closed aura. Okay. And then also understanding as a manifester, your energy works in bursts and urges. So generators have very consistent energy and can show up on a more consistent basis. A manifester has to honor that they're going to be inspired, they're going to have a creative burst, a creative urge, and they're going to have a great amount of energy while they're in that creative flow. But then they're going to need to back off, be alone, and rest and retreat for a little while in order to rebuild that energy. Where again, a generator can show up a little more consistently. With a generator, it's more about finding work that satisfies you to sustain your energy. And for manifestors, it's honoring those ebbs and flows of energy. Okay. Does that make sense so far? The difference between the generator and the manifester?
True. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay. Good. Awesome. And so third, we have the projector, and that is like yourself. And projector's aura is penetrative. So if you think like a laser pointer, it's like wherever you point that laser, it goes directly to that spot. And that is how the aura of a projector works. And the reason that it's a penetrating aura is because projectors are here to guide us. They're mostly the generators. Manifestors don't really need guidance because they're their own independent aura, but projectors are here to help the generators of the world use their energy in a more effective way. So projectors as well as manifestors do not have that sacral center. So we have less energy available. So for you as a projector, it's about self-care, resting, taking days off, really tapping into that luxury or that exercise, whatever feels good to your body, but you need a lot more pleasure, play, and self-care in your life in order to sustain that energy. Now, again, as a projector, you guys are very to the point and very efficient because of how your aura works. It's like, this is the problem. Let's get it done. Let's fix it. You guys have that no BS meter on you guys. It's like right to the heart of the problem. And that's why waiting for the invitation in business is so important. Because if you're out there and you're just giving your guidance, giving your direction, or penetrating into people's energy without being asked or invited, that can actually feel very invasive to the other person. Because again, it's kind of like that sniper rifle. Nobody wants that target sitting on them. It's kind of like this looming feeling of like, oh God. And so that's how a projector can make people feel. It's almost like they feel like you can see into them, and that can feel vulnerable. So waiting for that DM, waiting for you to like, hey, join my email list, sign up for my program, join my Facebook group. Any of those things are forms of invitations that you can give as a coach so that the people entering your world are ready for your penetration. They're ready for that message, they're ready for that guidance and that intensity, rather than just that unsolicited advice, which can again feel invasive. And what tends to happen is it makes projectors bitter when they're not asking for that invitation, because then they're not really being seen. Right. So as a coach, you probably love that feeling when someone says, wow, thank you. You helped me. I'm seeing these results, because projectors love to be seen, heard, and recognized. Right. Because you guys do have that gift. You want to be seen and recognized for that gift. And if you aren't, if someone says, I didn't ask for your advice, or you get some sort of resistance with that, then you're just like, well, I'm just trying to help. And it can be bitter that comes up, bitterness. So it's just important, again, as a projector in business, create the invitation, invite people into your world, invite people to join you so that you can just show up in your message and not have to worry about that step of, did I ask for the invitation or not?
Right.
Okay. And then, for you guys, pre-scheduling content is great so that your business can stay consistent, but you can take days off, you can have fun, you can tap into that pleasure and that play and self-care, which is going to help you then show up better in your business. Okay. Does that make sense? Being a projector, do you have any questions about that?
Wow, that's really excellent one. Actually, I really learned a lot about my type and how things should work in my business. And yeah, it was
Good.
really wonderful.
Awesome. And the last one is our reflectors. Now, reflectors are very rare. They only make up 1% of the population. So if anyone watching this is a reflector, let us know because it's very cool when
Yeah,
you're only that
comment below
1%.
if you are a reflector.
Yeah. And it's so important as a reflector to understand this about yourself because think about it. If you're 1% of the population, who are you going to look to for guidance, right? Like you have 80% of the world are generators. Great. I can go out there and I can find a mentor that might want to run business the same way as me. Same with a manifestor. You're most likely going to find, 1 out of 10 coaches is probably going to be a manifestor. But when you're looking for a coach or a mentor or a leader that's a reflector like you, it can be a lot harder to find. It's like that needle in a haystack. So, reaching out for a human design reading or doing your own research about what it means to live in alignment for a reflector is going to be super helpful, but it's also going to help you feel more confident and empowered in who you are because reflectors tend to feel very misunderstood because they're so different than the other energy types. So when we're looking at our chart, every energy type has different definition. And definition is just where it's colored in, where it's activated. That means that's something that you have consistent access to. And then the areas that are white, this is where we take on energy from other people. Okay, so we have areas that are our power centers that we have consistent access to, and we have areas where we learn from other people, but we don't have consistent access to that energy. Okay, so just a little bit of what it means when we talk about open versus defined areas. Now, a reflector has no definition. They're the only energy type where their entire chart is white and open. So, what this means is they are designed to draw in energy and reflect it back to us. So, they are kind of like the sounding boards or literally the reflectors of our world, like a mirror where they're showing us how we're doing as a collective. So, if you're a reflector in business, it's going to be very difficult for you if you're scrolling social media and working with clients all day to know what is my energy without someone else in my aura and what am I absorbing from the outside world, right? Because essentially you're absorbing through all of your openness. And then with reflectors, you guys are also very sensitive to the moon cycle. So, your strategy as a reflector is when it comes to decision making, you actually want to wait as long as you can to reach that 28-day lunar cycle. And the reason for this is because your chart is open. You want to allow time for those transits, right? Neutrino transits, if we're getting into astrology. You want to have time for all of that energy to move through your chart so that you can reach a point of clarity. Because every day or every week, you might feel different energy in your body because you're completely open. You have no energy that is consistently there for you, which makes it confusing. So when you know this about yourself, you can have a lot more awareness for conditioning and you can be sure that you're working out of alignment rather than taking on energy that's not yours and feeling drained, burnt out, comparison, overthinking, to overly emotional. You might not feel grounded. All of those things can come up. So as a reflector, learning how to run that business with more spaciousness, maybe having self-paced offers where people can purchase from you, but you can also step away from that business at the same time. Yeah, so that's kind of in a nutshell how to run a business according to each energy type. And of course, in a deeper dive, specific chart reading, we're looking at all of the aspects of your chart. So it's a little bit easier to be specific in business when we're looking at everything because the energy type, that's only one section of your human design chart.
Right, right, true. If someone is looking at it like from a glance, they might feel it is difficult, right? It is like difficult to understand or digest. But when they have
Yeah.
someone like you, like who is a human design coach and who can help them understand that okay, these are a few specifications of your aura, of you as a person, that becomes very much simpler for them to just understand and apply it in their business as
Yeah.
well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like when we don't understand a word and we look it up in the dictionary and then we go, oh, okay, that makes sense. I get what that means now. It's kind of the same thing. Human design just has its own terminology, but all of those things mean something very straightforward, right? Like energy types, all that means is the energy people feel, right? Our aura. So it's like, yeah, and strategies, inner authority, right? When you hear the word inner authority in human design, that's the place in our body that we make decisions, right? Our inner authority. So it's like, even though these terms can sound a little confusing, when we break it down into layman's terms, it makes total sense. Plus, I have that 13 years of working with clients with anatomy and science. And, you got to break things down as well when it comes to muscles and ligaments into something that makes sense for people. And I'm a 5'1" in human design as my profile. So literally, like, universalizing information is what my specialty is. It's like taking something abstract and making it make sense. That's part of my gift as my human design as well. So that's why I love helping people make it make sense, because if it's not tangible, if we don't understand what it means, then we can't integrate it into our life. And as we know as coaches, integration is the only way to see results. Information alone does not teach or does
True.
not create transformation. It has to be the embodiment of that information, where that's where we see results for sure.
True, true. And I guess I'm also a 5'1". I'm not sure, 1 5 or
Oh,
5'1",
perfect.
but I'm also
Yep.
a 5'1" as well.
Perfect. Love it.
So, like, what if we talk about the role of human design and decision making, right? In our business, we have to make a few decisions when we just need to take a few actions in our business, right? So, how a human design
Yeah.
can help us to take decisions?
Yeah, absolutely. So in human design, like I said, there's an area that you'll see called inner authority. And our decisions in human design are never made from our head. Our collective society has really done us a disservice by teaching us to analyze decisions, to wait for decision making, and like weigh the pros and cons, think about it logically. What is the safest move? What is the best financial move? Right? All of these things are very logic based and they're very mind based. In human design, there's never an authority, with the exception of one, a mental authority. But even then, there's never an authority that is in the mind. It's always in the body. So there are 6 different inner authorities that you can have in human design. The first one is the sacral inner authority. And that's the first one we talked about with generators and manifesting generators. They're the
Right.
only ones who will ever be a sacral authority. And all that means, if you're a pure sacral authority, is that in the moment you can trust your gut to make decisions. So those people that are very decisive and they can make a decision in a split second and it all works out for them. It's like, I just know this is correct for me. I can make that purchase, make that decision, make that judgment call, and it all works out. I trusted my gut. Those are our sacral beings. So there are people out there that is correct for them, and trusting their gut and making a definitive decision in the moment is in alignment with them. Most of us are not that way, but there are the pure generators that work that way. Secondary, you have an emotional inner authority. That is what I am. And an emotional inner authority is actually meant to take longer with their decisions. So because we are emotional beings, it'll say inner authority emotional. It'll say that right on your chart when you look it up. And you'll notice the triangle at the bottom right in your chart is brown. It's colored in. That means you're emotionally defined. And if you're emotionally defined, that automatically becomes your decision making process. So making decisions in the moment for those people is not correct. You want to say things like, when do you need to know by? Like, what's the latest I can get back to you? Let me think on it. Let me have the weekend to process things. I'll let you know on Monday. I'll let you know next week. Just buy yourself time to feel your emotional wave. Because as an inner authority, if you are emotional, you have no clarity in that exact moment that your decision is being presented to you. So it feels like fogginess, it feels like indecisiveness. I hear a lot of emotional inner authorities say, I'm just indecisive. Well, it's not that you're indecisive, it's that your decision making process is emotional and that it takes you longer to get to the point of clarity. So what will happen with the emotional inner authority is you will either start with excitement or nervousness. It doesn't matter which end of the wave your emotions start on. So if I present you with a decision, I could get you into a triggered wave of excitement if you're an emotional authority. Like, oh, yes, that's the best thing ever. I really want to do this thing. I'm in. And if you make that commitment out of excitement, what will happen is a day or two later, you're going to come out of that emotion of excitement and you're going to dip into the emotion of nervousness. And then you're going to say, why did I commit to that thing? I don't want to do it anymore. Right? That often is what happens is we make a decision when we feel a certain emotion, but we haven't waited for clarity. So oftentimes that decision is not actually in alignment for us. So what we want to do is let that excitement come down, see the different perspectives, feel the different emotions in the wave, and then we come to a point where we feel about 70 to 80% clarity. That's the point we want to make the decision from. We've given ourselves a few days to feel the nervousness, feel the excitement, and then we reach that middle ground. So just taking time for those people is important, and understanding that something that is aligned for you will not you won't miss out on that opportunity because you waited for clarity. Waiting for clarity is going to allow the things that aren't meant for you to dissipate and to move away from you. Okay. So that's the key for emotional inner authority. Super important with that one, because we can run into a lot of issues. Even if you're in a negative emotion, you still don't want to make decisions. You don't want to say no to something just because you're in a low emotion, or you don't want to send that text message or, write that attitude email when you're not in an aligned state of emotion. It doesn't matter what the decision is. We always want to wait till we feel that emotion pass and that clarity come in. It's like the fog lifts and then we can see where we're going more clearly.
Right.
The third one is a splenic inner authority. Now, is that what you are? Are you a splenic projector?
No, I'm a self-projected projector.
Self-projected projector. Okay, we'll get to that one after. So a splenic projector, the spleen is the oldest form of intuition, and it's very in the moment. So it's similar to the sacral center in the sense that it's in the moment, but it's different because the splenic center is an awareness center and the sacral center is a motor. So for someone who is a gut response, you can continually ask yourself the same question and your gut is always going to respond the same way. If you're a splenic inner authority, which will only be for manifestors and projectors, you'll never be a generator because you'll have the sacral. So a manifestor projector with the spleen, it's in the moment, but it's a very quiet intuition and it only usually speaks once and then that's it. You either listen to it or you don't. So this tends to be there's no rhyme or reason for it. You just get this little whisper, this little nudge of like, do it now, buy the program. Or it says, don't do it, don't sign up for that thing, don't trust that person. And if you don't listen to that little whisper of intuition, if your thoughts are too loud, you're overthinking, you're too busy, you're too stressed out, you're not going to hear that quiet little intuitive voice that's trying to guide you in the right direction. So for the splenic center, tapping into your body and quieting your mind is going to help you connect to that intuition, and then trust those little nudges, trust those little inklings or spidey senses that you feel that are telling you whether something is correct for you or not. Okay, so that's splenic inner authority, the third one. Then we'll talk about self-projected. So the self-projected projector, this is actually an inner authority that's coming from the G center or the identity center. This is the yellow diamond that sits right in the center of the chart. And this is a magnetic monopole. So for self-projected projectors, that's a tongue twister to say, you guys do really well with having somebody that you can talk to, or voice memoing to yourself, or journaling. Anything where you can project outward and just kind of riff. You're just riffing ideas, and as you're talking to that person, or as you're journaling, or as you're voice memoing, what will happen is you hearing your own thoughts back will help you gain clarity. So you don't really want to find someone that's going to give you advice or that's going to interrupt your process. You literally just need a sounding board. You just need somebody where you're talking it out and then you're like, okay, as I'm saying this, I'm already hearing the answer. Did you resonate with that? Do you work that
Right.
way?
Right. So me
Yeah.
and my
Yeah. So
husband,
you
both
don't.
of us are self-projected projectors, and we use it like
Cool.
with ourselves. Right. I just tell him the things, and I really feel that emotions, sensations in my body. That okay, this is the correct
Yeah.
way.
Yes, perfect. So honoring that for yourself, but not confusing each other by giving each other too much advice. It's just allowing that person to talk it out. So if you don't have that sounding board, right, voice memoing to yourself or journaling, both are great ways for a self projected projector to make decisions. Because sometimes if you just keep it inside, you have nothing to see back or to hear back with yourself, and that can create confusion. So doing that, that is how the self projected projector works. So that's perfect. Then we have an ego. So you can be an ego manifester or an ego projector. This one is all about following your heart and knowing what your values are. So, knowing what you stand for, right? Because if you're trying to create a business or make decisions with an ego authority, if you're going against what your values are and what you really stand for, what your mission is, then those decisions aren't going to be in alignment. So, the ego inner authority kind of sounds like I want that thing, I'm going to get that thing. So the ego is all about materialistic things, heartfelt passions, values, and that kind of thing. So you often hear them like, ooh, I want to create that. I want to launch that. I want to do that thing. They're very discerned in what they want. And then they go and get it. So the ego inner authorities are very driven, very passionate, motivated. They can be materialistic. Sometimes these are monetary goals, but that's okay if you have that ego defined because that is actually healthy for you. So it's just making sure you know your values, you know what you stand for, and when you make decisions, it's in alignment with those values. That's the main thing. And if you hear yourself saying, "Oh, I want that car," or "I want this type of business," or "that is my ideal client," that is your indication of that's the way you want to go with your decision. Okay.
Right.
And then we've got the mental projector. So this is a projector who has no definition in their chart at all. They only have the head and the ajna defined. So these are the only people, they're still not making a decision from their mind, but they want to give themselves more time and they actually want to talk to more people about their decisions. So, this is the only energy type and the only inner authority where it's good to talk to other people because as you're mentally getting different perspectives and different opinions and talking about that decision, that's where you will gain clarity. So, for a mental projector, it is good to get different perspectives to help you gain clarity. And that's a very small percentage of people that are mental projectors. And then the last one is no inner authority, and that is for our reflectors because they don't have any definition in the body. So therefore, they have nowhere that can be their inner authority. So for a reflector, this is where when you have a big decision to make, wait for that 28 days. Try to go a whole lunar cycle without making that commitment because that will provide you clarity at the end of that lunar cycle when all of that energy is moved through you. If it is something that you can't wait that long on, that's where you're just going to have to really be spend alone time, let all of the other people's energy leave you and make that decision based off of how it feels in your body, right? You're just going to have to do the best you can because we don't always have that 28-day period where we can wait as a reflector. Yeah, so
Right.
those are all of the different ways that you can make decisions as a human design. Now, this isn't something that changes, and this isn't something we can decide which one we want. This is innately part of you, and it's learning about how to work with your decision making inner authority rather than against it. So I have a lot of emotional inner authorities that say, like, is there any way to change that? No, right? There is not. It's learning how to work with it. That is going to be the key to success.
True, true, true. So first of all, knowing our own authority, right, and just applying it in our life
Yeah.
makes a whole lot of difference. Like before knowing our human design, we are quite unaware about how things are going on and why things are going on that way, the way they are like happening in our life that way, right? So it is really a
Yeah.
wonderful way of knowing our own decision making process, right? So like
Yeah.
what if there's a like in layman terms how you can make someone understand that if they are having their human design chart ready in front of them. By the way, I'm going to put a link of a website by which you can create your own human design so that like the whole discussion that can make sense for you, right? That we are talking
Yeah.
about the authority and the other part of it. So like what someone can expect from their human design chart reading.
Okay, so if you look up your human design chart on your own and you go to a free website, you're going to get all of that information. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
doing this on your own, the best place to start so you don't get overwhelmed is starting with your energy type, your strategy, and your inner authority. So, what is my energy type? How do I operate? What do people feel from me? How do I interact with others? The strategy is the strategy that goes along with that auric type to create more harmony, more flow, and more ease with things. And then the inner authorities, how do I make decisions? After that, it's good to dive into your profile and then your centers, okay? But on a human design reading, we dive through all of it. A human design reading is about an hour to an hour and a half, depending on how many questions we have come up during the session. And we can make it very specific as to what you're looking to tweak or the areas that you feel stuck on. But in a human design reading, we go through your energy type, your strategy, your inner authority, your profile, your incarnation cross, which is your soul's purpose, what you came to help the collective with. We talk about your centers, what's defined and what's undefined. So, where are your power centers? What is yours to use and share with the world, and what you have consistently available, versus where you're open, where you're meant to gain wisdom, and where we can work on the deconditioning process. Because a lot of times in those areas of the white, we tend to think we're lacking something, or we're trying to work out of those areas, which is going to create frustration, burnout, and a lack of results, essentially. And then we talk about your arrows in your chart, a little bit about your channels. So, this is how you digest information, how you digest food, how you're meant to run your business schedule wise, what works better for you in alignment. So, in a human design reading, we cover the entire chart and how we can specifically use it for business, relationships, personal power, or just to deeply understand yourself so that you're not seeking validation and permission from other people. You know what's yours and you can truly stand in those gifts. So that's what we go through in a human design reading. I do offer different sections of human design readings. So one is an individual reading where we're just looking at your chart. It's all about you. I do relationship readings, which is if you have a coworker or a business partner that you want to see how you two work well together in business, we can do that. Or it can be with a partner. And this is where we're looking at, you get a full chart reading in this session. They're longer sessions, but then you also get to learn about your partner's chart or your coworker's chart and how we can create harmony there and the differences. And I also offer family readings where we look at the parents' charts mixed with the kids' charts and how each child looks different and how each parent looks different and how all of that energy works together. So, in any which way, if you want to learn just yourself, you and your partner, or your family, I offer all of those different sections. And then, of course, it goes deeper into I have alignment calls. So, if you've had a human design reading before, but there's more that you want to learn or you want deeper levels of integration, that's where an alignment call comes in. So, I have many different ways that you can go about approaching your human design for anyone at different levels.
True, true. So it seems like it helps us in all the aspects of our life, right? Like the health, wealth, relationship,
Absolutely.
and the business part as well, right?
Yeah. And if you're not ready to dive in yet to a human design reading, I also have two self paced offers. One is tapping by design, where it's myself and a tapping expert. Have you ever heard of EFT tapping?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is how we release emotional blockages in the body. So her and I did a series of master classes where it's specific to each energy type. So in the beginning, it's all about your energy type. In the second half, you actually get a full tapping session to help that specific energy type work through those blocks. And those are a lot cheaper as well. They're a nice starting point if you just want to dip your toe in and get a taste for human design. And then I have manifestation by design, which is talking about how each energy type can start to manifest and how we can work through some of those challenges based off of each type. So, there's lots of different levels as well if you just want to kind of dip your toe in, or whether you want to book a full reading and do that live with me. I also record these sessions, these readings, so that afterwards you have that to keep and you can have reference to it as well. So, all of them are great ways to get started. I try to make it very easy and accessible for people to learn their human design.
Wow, that's fantastic. It is really nice knowing about the whole the service offers that you have. And really, like human design is really a wonderful topic where we can understand about ourselves as well as people around us, right? That how they are behaving and
Exactly.
why
Yeah.
they are behaving that way. So I guess in a business and in
Yeah.
a relationship, it is much more important to know that like it is not about myself only, it is about all the people around me which can actually help
Yeah.
me move forward, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. So that's why I like to offer all the different ways because sometimes we do want to know ours, but we also want to learn our partners or our coworkers or family. And
True.
so that way I make it a little bit more affordable to do more than one chart rather than buying individual chart readings for all of the people in our lives. And then if you're a coach or a leader who wants to use human design and actually learn the human design system and use it with your clients, I offer the human design experience, which is a 6 session, 6 week package. And it actually teaches you all of the foundations of the different energy types so that as a coach, you can integrate human design into your own business as well. And you actually learn how to read a chart. So many different ways depending on where you're at. Because some coaches are like, I want to know this. I want to know how I can use this in my own business, or I want to be able to read charts for clients. And for some coaches, they just send those clients to me, right? I've had clients where it's like, my client wants a reading or we want to know more about her human design. You can also do it that way where you delegate the reading to me and then they go back to you for some more coaching with that added information of human design. So there's no right or wrong way. It's whatever feels good to you.
True, true. So definitely, I'm going to put the links in the description box, but like by which you can get help from Sandy, and like other details of her social media and all, right? So that you can get in
Yeah.
touch with her and know more about her services. Sounds good.
Yeah, and you can reach out anytime if you have questions, if you're not sure which one is the right fit for you, or if you just have a quick question about your human design, never hesitate to reach out. I definitely want to help you get started.
Sure, definitely. It was really nice talking to you, Cindy, and it was really like
You
for
as
me,
well.
yeah, it was a wonderful session to understand that how human design can help my own self as well as my business.
Yes, I
True.
great. I'm so glad you got some takeaways today.
That's great. Really fantastic. Okay, Cindy. See you then. I hope all our viewers have enjoyed our today's episode, and like we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Sounds good. Bye, guys.